Philosophy and what you guys have been up to.
Well, we never tend to rest. So, kind of being driven in a real estate business, you don't tend to sit in the sidelines and watch things happen. So as we're watching this pandemic, yes, there was a moment where we just had to
figure out what was going on, like the rest of the world.
What's going on, and we had to take that little bit of a break because you can't deliver a message that's totally incongruent with what's happening in the world and what people want to hear and what people need to hear. So there was definitely that little break when we first got the shutdown in Massachusetts and the order in Boston. And then you just start picking up and moving forward. And, not to say we're doing things that are unsafe or aren't in the best
public health interest.
Health interest, but we're allowing our clients to guide us so we can help them get to their goals. I think the most important thing is that no matter what's happening on the outside world, there are still people moving.
There's needs. You're working with people. We're all working with people. People still have needs, and when you come from a position of service and helping others, you're still there for them.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you say that because, ultimately what we're doing in helping people buy and sell is, we're coming to them from a place of service. And not only is it essential, but it's really a necessity in that people always need to buy and sell regardless of what's going on in other people's lives. So, I've had people call me when I'm in the hospital with my wife delivering a baby or at a family funeral. So it really doesn't matter what's going on in other people's lives. What really matters most is what's going on with the individual. So I know that you guys
life continues for everyone, right?
100%.
Despite these changes.
100%. So I was wondering, when this first started, you guys were doing a virtual open house. Can you tell us about that experience? And you had some success with it. If memory serves, you're one of the early adapters. So tell us what that experience was like.
It was really a team member that did it mostly. We had two team members doing virtual open houses. And really what it was more than anything was a way to kind of give the buyers an opportunity to cull through the listings that were available on the marketplace, right? So I can say that we have in the past sold houses that buyers buy sight unseen, right? So they don't ever go through the house. They come to closing and they make the purchase. Typically, that is with some friends or relatives' assistance. But in these days of COVID,
we've done that ourselves.
So these days of COVID is really what technology has allowed us to do was help the buyer weed through things they knew they didn't want. Right. So I don't think you can ever replace really that in-person showing. But technology, the bounds that we have keep bringing us further and further along, helping us to do that, I think.
Yeah, sort out. Buying a house for most buyers is a process of elimination. The virtual open house is, hopefully it allows buyers to see if that is or is not a house that they want, or allows them to take the next step. It's not always the final step.
Sure. But it does help make the process more efficient, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're kind of excited about, looking for silver linings. You have to continually stay positive and look for the goodness in all of these things. And, it's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes down at the end of this, because it's not winding down tomorrow. We're not talking about all of a sudden we're all back to work, especially you, Josh. God bless you. You're living in the middle of the worst spot in the country. Like I need to tell you that. So it'll be incredibly interesting to see how this affects you guys moving forward.
One thing I will say about the virtual open house too is that the virtual open house And then with addition of things like FaceTime or live messenger, so you can take the virtual open house, buyers can see that, and then if you have an interactive portion to it where they can ask questions or say, hey, can you zoom in closer on that stove so I can see, is that a 6-burner or 5-burner, or can you, and you can actually have, then it even gets more than just a virtual tour.
Yeah.
If it becomes a more interactive, using the technology to even be more directly interactive has definitely been very helpful.
Sure. And how are you guys getting the word out as far as the virtual open houses are concerned? So leading up to it, you have, let's say, a listing that's appearing on, in your case, Zillow or Realtor.com. Are you able to advertise an open house from 1:30 to 3? And tell me a little bit about how you get the word out about the virtual aspect of it.
Well, it's many fronts, actually. We have, a good 8,000 people in a database that we can announce these to.
Which is one of our
strongest points of our business, right?
Yes. We're a couple differences between New York City and Boston. We are an MLS service realtor based operation. So our MLS actually allows us to post on MLS that we're having virtual open houses. That's something our MLS adapted with this as well. So we can admit all our properties are advertised on MLS, and they allow us to advertise virtual open houses. Zillow's doing that now as well. We have Facebook ads, Instagram ads as well. So using some of those other social media techniques.
Okay. Wow, that's really cool. So, one of the things that I appreciate most about difficult situations is innovation and, the things that come out of those difficult situations. So, for instance, I know that you guys love to travel, right? And so, and so I know that, there have been times when I've traveled around the world, whether it's, an individual or with a friend or, with my wife and our 3 kids, when you run into sort of these unexpected circumstances, right? You miss a train, you miss a plane, you miss a ferry, your car gets sideswiped in a parking lot. You are in the middle of a typhoon or a hurricane.
Remind me not to travel with you, Josh, if those are your traveling experiences, my friend.
Terrorist attacks in Barcelona, earthquakes in Italy. My assistant Lindsay teases me and she says, "Remind me never to go away with you, because every time you go away, there's some calamitous issue."
Catastrophe happens.
Right. But my point is that there's always innovations that come out of these challenging times. And so, you have the virtual open house that is going to come out of this. And I think that that's going to be, I wouldn't say a norm, but certainly an added layer of tools that we as professionals are using and buyers are going to appreciate to make their experience in buying a home, and sellers to sell their homes, more efficient. But what are some other innovations that you guys, Erik and Randal, see coming out of our experience here with the pandemic?
Well, really, I think the biggest one really is just our ability to do meetings with people online. We've gotten incredibly efficient with doing listing presentations with sellers, buyer presentations with buyers, tours of homes online.
We've been using, as you know, Josh, I know you have as well, we've been using tools like Zoom and things for a long time. But I think now it's gone to, based on some of the higher level professionals using those, to down to the everyday person, our clients, the buyers and sellers, and actually even requesting, can we set up a Zoom meeting or a virtual meeting? So we're doing first meetings and presentations that way as well. So that's a big change.
That's a big change. And also really, I think one of the changes that we're starting to embrace a little bit more as far as virtual tours go, and that's not the kind of like virtual presentation, but a virtual tour in a home that we pre-record and attach to a listing, is we're going to start showing the ugly, You know, you kind of got to do the basement. You know, we live in it, we're certainly selling in a very different market. So, you know, doing common areas of condominium associations, doing basements, and
showing the storage area,
showing the attic,
showing the circuit panels, the heating or the air conditioning system, because people aren't able to get in to see those the same they would if they were walking into an open house. So they still want to see them.
Yeah. So you guys are basically, you know, you're the eyes and ears of your buyers. So you're showing them, you know, both the, you know, the pretty facade and the beautiful living room and kitchen, but you're also showing them the down and dirty, the systems, the basements, the attics, crawl spaces, etc.
Yeah, the less glamorous portions of the house, which is one of the reasons that most people want to get in, right? Okay, you're showing me these beautiful pictures. Of course, I want to feel it, right? I want to walk into the house and see what it feels like, see what the light's like. You can get a lot of that through pictures, but what you can't get is, what are the systems like? What's going on with the attic? What's the backyard feel like to roam around in? That kind of stuff. So as you can tell, you know, we go from Boston out into the near suburbs with our representation of buyers and sellers. So, you know, we have a little bit more space than what you're looking at, you know, selling units, condo units, or
in high rises. We do a fair mix. I'd say probably 70% condos, 30% single families in our market around Boston. So a mix of that.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know that you guys have your own brokerage now, right? Focus is your own company. And so can you tell me a little bit about how you sort of have grown that over the last couple of years?
It's been really fun working with a team of people that, you know, it takes a little while to put these things together, but the team is doing really well. We feel like we're all charting a similar course together, similar values, similar ways to approach the business, which has been really gratifying.
And you know, as team leaders, one of the things for me, that's been most exciting during this, you know, shutdown and the COVID-19 crisis is working with a team of other professionals and having your team of professionals, of people who still, you see, we get up, we do a morning huddle on video. We've been doing this for years, even before this crisis, but getting up every morning and seeing they're still up and dressed at 8:30, ready. They say what they're working on, what they're committed for the day, and they're still excited and they're still out there providing that service for people. So as a small brokerage, it's exciting to be working with professionals who are still in it and still there to help other people and checking in with them and overseeing them every day.
Got it. So you guys are a little bit unique in that, you know, you started this company. It's essentially like, you know, your child, and that, you know, you birthed it, you're raising it, cultivating it, nurturing it. But at the same time, you guys are recently homeowners in Florida, so you're not actually there on the ground. And how has it been to manage this operation that's, you know, largely in growth mode, and you guys are in Florida?
Very strong. Well, we took an opportunity to be down in Florida for a little while during this outbreak because everybody's working remotely. Everybody is
showing virtually.
Nobody's wearing pants. Anyway, even Superman's son isn't wearing pants.
It's true, but I have a strong shirt game.
What was that?
I have a strong shirt game in this pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, as the brokers and team leaders, we did. Randal and I made the decision when Boston had the shelter in place and shut down. I don't know my dates. I'm losing track of them all right now, as I think many of you are. But when we did have the shelter in place order come down, we said, okay, we're going to be sheltering in place, you know, in the city and in our home in Boston. We're, you know, cold and rainy. It's the Northeast. You guys know what it's like in New York. You're slightly better weather than we are in Boston, or new homeowners in Florida. We said, well, let's just pack up the dog in the car and drive to Florida. So we've been in Florida for 6 weeks and working remotely from here. Never having done so many Zoom meetings and with both clients, other agents we're talking to, our agents, and actually amazing how smoothly that is going and how busy our team and our office and we still are.
Yeah, yeah, it's really incredible to gauge the level of people's interest and the strength of our respective markets. During the course of all of this uncertainty, and it really gives me great comfort knowing that there's still demand to buy even in the face of everything that's happening. So what we're realizing is that the stimulus that the Federal Reserve has put into place and the government as a whole is not only unprecedented, but it's largely supporting our economy and giving consumers great confidence to know that it's still okay to go forward with their plans to both buy and sell.
And I think that is one of the messages, I think, Josh, that you're attempted to get out there. And that's certainly a message that we've been really putting forward, wanting to put out there as well. And it's not just, yeah, everything's okay, go ahead, buy a house. It's more, this is what's happening in the marketplace. Make your own decision. Right. So, I'm talking with other business owners in our area, doing quick little videos with them, like, how have you adapted and changed? What are you doing? I hear some people are like, my business is better than ever. Like, I've adapted, I'm doing well, I have a good client base or customer base, and things are going well. I actually had a very interesting conversation yesterday from a client who pulled his home from the market and says, we need to take some time to figure out what's going on. They're moving out of state and this whole thing. And calls me and says, I just figured I probably had to take the next step. And my next step was to find a job. And I put 2 feelers out there, and lo and behold, I have a job. And
wow,
let's get our house back on the market because we're moving. And we're moving quickly. So,
they pulled it during this crisis. Now he's wanting to put it back on because they still got things going on and got opportunities, and so getting that back up and going.
We can all dig ourselves into a little hole and hide and wait for this to all go away, but when is that going to happen? Or we can adapt, change, respond, and respect what our clients and what the community wants, and continue to keep our whole, even these little teeny tiny pieces are keeping our market together. And I'm not talking about the real estate market. I'm just talking about the economy as a whole.
And the real estate market is one of the strong points of our economy. And, read some things where that's going to be the thing that actually helps keep our larger economy supported and even pulls them out of some of the crisis that it's in.
Yeah, well, largely the community and the members of the community are what make it just that. It's not real estate. It's not the bakery. It's not the barber or the mechanic or the gas station or the diner. But cumulatively, we all work together to make our community what it is.
It's all those little pieces put together. It's that combined total.
And we all have to do our part.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Erik, before you and Randal started Focus, what were you guys up to?
Well, we've been selling real estate in the Boston market for about, now it's going on about 20 years. We've been our own brokerage for 4.5 years. So we were selling. Randal started in real estate first right around September 2001, September, right before September 11th. I started the year after, but we worked with a number of the larger brokerage firms for a good 15 years before we went independent and started our own firm.
Got it. And what was it that drove you to start your own company? Was there a defining moment, or as they call it, an aha moment that said, why don't we pivot?
It's actually really kind of a fun story, and thank you. It sounds like you've watched some of our videos, Rubin. But really, it was very interesting back in 2006 15, we had affiliated with the Tom Ferry organization, which is how we know each other for sure, and so pleased to be part of that. That certainly changed
a great coaching program.
Yeah, it certainly changed the way we view and do business, and it's certainly been a lever to help us make us more successful. But in 2015, we saw our business change dramatically. We didn't have any kind of aspirations to be our own broker. In fact, I've always said, holy Christ, who'd want to manage people like me? And being a successful real estate agent, I'm like, oh God, could you imagine an office full of me's? That'd be awful. Anyway,
yeah.
Because we had come from an office that were all these kind of Leo
drivers,
high eyes, high driver people, and,
right.
and it got a little contentious now and then. Anyway, that's just a little sideline joke, but we talked a little bit about that. But basically, it's kind of funny because Erik and I had mentioned, oh, should we think about maybe doing our own office? Because people ask us that all the time. When are you going to open your own office? And we're like,
we had a small team within a larger brokerage at the time.
And Erik called me one day and says, hey, Randal, there's a really cute little rental space available in the neighborhood, which is two blocks away from our house.
Yeah, about 2 blocks from our house. Corner retail location, great visibility, not real large.
And he asked me like 3 times to go and look at this. And I am the creative, like, shake the carts, make a big project out of nothing, you know, rattle everybody's cage kind of person. And I was not interested in this at all.
So I'm more the operator here, and I'm a little bit more conservative than Randal in many ways. Randal's more the artist, visionary, and sometimes driver. And for you and your viewers out there, we are husbands, we are partners. So, you know, we have that yin and yang going on. This was one time where I was driving the bus, I think, and suggesting that we make a move. Randal also likes change and makes move a little bit faster and more so than I do. And Randal was dragging his feet on this, and we actually went and saw the space, and that can really the retail location
really was the driver.
Yeah. And us. It's just perfect, small location, great frontage, close to our clients, and we're walking distance from our home and we're our clients, and just thought this would be the perfect place for us to kind of service our clients from.
And it was kind of an interesting space too. It's been really interesting to kind of look back on what happened with that whole opening this office, because I think we've always really valued being transparent to our clients. And really giving them the tools to help them understand how does this real estate thing work, and which tools would they like to implement to drive towards the goals that they're seeking, right? So, and it was really interesting to be in this office and talk about our business and our business models and our values of being transparent, and ending up in this corner office with all of these windows
on 2 sides, very much,
very out there in the street. We had to hang a couple of little placards in the windows because it just felt like we were actually in the middle of the street.
Little bit too exposed.
It was almost too exposed, almost too transparent. But we were really proud of it at the very end. And the funnest part about doing something like this, it was a gut rehab of a space that we had to totally build out to suit our needs. It hadn't been touched in probably 40 years. And we were able to hire our clients who were architects and contractors and electricians to give back to them as they had given to us in the past. So that was a lot of fun. We liked that.
Huh. So that's cool. So you found the perfect space. So it sounds like it was the space that was the catalyst in actually starting your own company.
Yeah. It's probably not the best way to go about business all the time, but in our case, it certainly was the big catalyst.
I mean, you know, I think it's safe to say that most people who have some modicum of success in our business have that sort of tickle inside of them, and that what if I were to start my own company? And you know, and when you drill down on it, you realize, as you guys can appreciate more than most, you realize that there's a lot of back end that goes into it, not just with the managing of the personalities and making sure that you have producers in your team and your company, but you know that there are other things to manage. You got to manage the light bill, you got to manage the rent, you got to manage the insurance, and all these other things. So there are a lot of things.
We pay those once a quarter. It's fine. It's fine. No, and I think actually the bigger challenge, Josh, for doing something like this is, paying the bills and managing that kind of stuff. And that was my immediate thought before we opened a brokerage was, oh, do I really want to manage fax machines and all that? But I think the bigger...
And the truth is, he doesn't. Randall still is more the salesperson. I'm more the operator. So, yeah, he does it. It's easy for him.
Yeah.
It's very...
it's great. It's great.
So that helps.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's optimal that you have a partner, not just a partner in life, but a partner in business. As you pointed out earlier, Erik, the sort of yin and yang, right? So you have you have the creative artist, and then you have the operator. And I know that a lot of people that we both know in common, have that benefit. Charles Turner and his wife Jenny,
right.
out in Portland, they have the sort of artist operator relationship.
Right.
And I know
up in Toronto, and there's a lot of successful agents and brokers around who have that.
Yeah, I know David Gunderman and his partner Andrew out in Oakland in the Bay Area. So there are a lot of successful teams. Tammy down in Texas and her husband Wes. So they find a way to make it work and they run with it. So before you guys got into real estate, what were you doing? I know you've been in real estate now for 20 years, but prior to that, tell us a little bit about what led you to your career.
Yeah, we come from a little different backgrounds. So Randall was being the creative. He was actually an artist. I was
clothing designer for about 10 years. So had a small label of our own and a small retail shop in the Boston area.
Yeah, so having a storefront and a retail shop was not, before we opened our brokerage, was not something we were unfamiliar with. Since Randall had run one before.
You ran that one.
Well, I kind of did. Randall was making the clothing and designing, and I was kind of running the shop. And we did that for a number of years before we got into real estate. But that was Randall's background. And when I started running the shop before that, my background is in behavioral psychology, and so I was. I worked in rehab settings for people with traumatic brain injuries for quite a while.
There's nothing more traumatic than going through, a little bit of a rocky sale process, right?
Oh, exactly.
It's all about the just project management, really.
People skills, and it is, it is a lot of that management. And sales aren't that much different. It's stressful. Real estate is we know, and I think the great agents like you, Josh, you and your team, you make it look so easy and successful. But any of us who've been doing this for a while know that that takes quite a lot of skill, and it takes. You're good at what you do, so you make it look easy, but it takes a lot of skill, and real estate process is not easy, and it is stressful on clients. The great agents and the great teams like yours make it easy for your clients, but that's just because you're good at what you do.
Yeah, well, making the process as efficient as possible, knowing where the potential hurdles might lie in the road, so we can really set expectations in advance for our clients, and know how to navigate the twists and turns in the road. Obviously, no athlete, no matter what the sport, is going to bat a proverbial 1,000. But as long as we're up there and we have everyone's, as I said, expectations set of what we might encounter, the better off we'll be in advance.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Yeah. And so, obviously our markets are largely similar in that they're urban. There is a greater concentration of vertical living here in New York. Whereas in your market, you're dealing a little bit more with, single families and, twins and, duplex and triplexes, a little less concentration of the urban living focus on sort of the high-rise apartment setting, but largely they're very similar sort of demographics. And I was wondering, where do you think we go from here in terms of the stay-at-home orders being lifted and people now able to sort of move about and go through their daily lives as they once did with some adjustments? But where do you think we go in terms of our respective markets?
That's interesting. I mean, it's really been fun the last few days because people are really starting to come out of the woodwork again and share with us kind of their experience and where they're going from here. I got an email first thing this morning from a client that says, I've been in a small town outside the city of Boston for the downturn, and it's kind of growing on me, and there's a little house around the corner that we'd like to take a look at. And they're very much not wanted, we know them well and have known them for a few years, and we see them in the parks and we walk dogs together, and and they're very much urban. They don't want to leave a couple block radius, and all of a sudden they've made some changes during this downturn and all of a sudden have discovered another part of life. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that now shakes out in other people's lives. I think, there's going to be a certain amount of people that are really grateful, as we all are, for what we have, right? And don't make any changes at all. And then there's going to be a certain group that goes, you know what? This isn't really where I want to be. And if I'm going to be quarantined, or if I'm going to be, this time that I've spent here is really shaking my tree a little bit and making me feel like we're ready to make some changes. So, and we're already seeing that start to manifest in our business with people going, you know what, there's other things. So. Yeah.
So people are realizing a sort of new side of themselves and sort of exploring the world and finding neighborhoods and opportunities, whether it be to move primary residence or find new opportunities for even second homes or weekend vacation homes.
Yeah. And, one of the things that we've been discussing is we're in the city of Boston. A neighborhood called Jamaica Plain is where we live in our offices, and it tends to be very specific, right, in our area. And we do work all over the city, but a majority of our business is in Jamaica Plain. And it's been very interesting because a lot of people are turning us and going, oh, aren't you guys placed beautifully? Because there's a lot of people that have been held up in their homes in the downtown area. And as I'm sure you're noticing,
high rises are
in the high rises, there's a different sense of security, health-wise, I think, than there is when you're in a smaller association. Also that amount of space. But what I was going to say is, I'm sure you're noticing how they keep building these new spaces smaller and smaller and smaller, and people are living in smaller spaces. And I'm wondering if this is going to shake that up a little bit and bring people a little bit more out into the neck of the woods where we're at, because you do get a little bit more space. We're surrounded by the Emerald Necklace Park, so a half mile in 4 directions. You have hundreds of acres of, what can be paved paths to wilderness for, everybody's enjoyment. So it's really going to be interesting to see what we see as far as what happens to the downtown market and how people migrate around and out and back in, I think. Because I think there's a certain amount of people, too, that may go, I'd really like the access to just what's in downtown. Yeah, I'll take a small space. My kids are.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So there could be that set of empty nesters who are now spending time rolling around these huge houses, realizing that their kids are grown and out of the house, a few years out of college. They have their own lives. They're never coming back. They have their own careers. So why are we spending time in this, 5,000 or more square foot house and paying all these taxes, and not to mention the utility bills, when we could take the equity and we could go buy our dream place in an urban setting, knowing that, cities are regenerative. Right. So things are going to come back. Yes, your favorite restaurant on the corner might be closed, but a new one will open in its place and take advantage of, the revitalization of these urban areas. Theaters are going to come back. Museums are going to reopen. And so, in another year's time, maybe even less, you're going to find a new sense of life in these urban areas. And so there's going to be a new sense of interest, a new layer of interest. And things are going to come back, and we're going to come back stronger than ever.
Yeah. And I think talking to some of the other local businesses and seeing how they're adapting too in the city, the delivery services are just booming and becoming more and more so, and that is something I think that is even more something that people have more access to in the cities, and all these local businesses we know, just even independent toy shops and independent juice shops and stuff that are delivering their goods to people where they weren't doing that before. But you know, hey, I'm stuck at home with the kids and I need, you know, some more games to play. What do you have available on your shelves, and can you deliver it down the street here? And you know, having access to those things when, you know, you're in a pandemic or whenever life changes is you know, can be very, very important to a lot of people as well. And knowing that's you have quick access to those things. Yeah,
that's a good point, Erik. And you know, knowing you guys as I do, I know you both to be sort of very intelligent, creative, and sort of dynamic people, both personally and professionally. So I was wondering if you could tell our viewers if you have a hidden talent.
You should have sprung that one on me a little in advance. Hidden talent.
Hidden talent.
Wow. Good question.
Well,
I don't know what I'm finding during this downturn is that I'm a total extrovert. I totally love being around people. I fill my time with dinners out and drinks with friends and all of that. And I have so enjoyed the time that Erik and I have gotten to spend together during this downturn. And I kind of got to know my little inner introvert a little bit more. That was something that was a little unexpected. Although I do have to say, over the last couple days,
you're starting to get the itch.
Well, no, you know what I'm itching for? I'm itching for what I really love to do. And what I really love to do is I like to be out in the community. And I like to be showing houses and being with and in front of people. And that's really where I feel like I'm the most energetic and have the most, I think, the most fun, right? And I was drawn into real estate because I really like houses. They're pretty. I have a thing for beauty, and as you can tell. And so and I really do miss that. But hidden talents, I would say, I don't know, baking.
Well, no, you know, actually, I'd say just one thing about Randal is Randal's got a lot of different skills. I mean, you're pretty adaptable and you have a lot of different skills. But you can like whip something up in the kitchen or go fix something, you know, that's broken in the, you know, mechanical or something, and be pretty adaptable as far as that goes. So I mean, I think you can do a lot of different things.
Good with gas.
You can do a lot of different things. One thing that I'm finding that you know, I haven't done in a number of years that I'm enjoying a little bit more and hoping to be able to do a little bit more of going forward, but with this pandemic, is sitting down and actually thinking and writing, because it's a different process. I'm sure, Josh, you know, being in sales, you're moving, you've got people throwing questions, problems, you're responding to things quickly, you're being quick, and you don't get a lot of chance in this field to sit down, turn things off, and just think and write and do a little bit of writing. You know, I look forward to being able to do more of that going forward, because I find it, you know, it's more of an intellectual process and a little bit of a creative process, I'm looking forward to being able to do been able to do a little bit of that during this pandemic, and look forward to being able to do more of that going forward.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said earlier, this experience has enabled us to give us more time with our loved ones, and, you know, bring us closer together. So I know that I too have enjoyed spending time with Kathy and our kids, and you know, we enjoy spending time together. So that's definitely one of the positives that has come out of this unexpected last 6 or 8 weeks, depending on where you are in the country. So with that, Randal Engelmann and Erik Gould of Focus Real Estate. Guys, if anyone wants to reach out to you and get in touch for any questions that they have about today's broadcast or about what you might be able to do to help them in Boston or the surrounding area, how would they go about getting in touch?
Well, our website, focusre.com, Focus Real Estate, focusre.com, info@focusre.com.
Probably the two best ways to do so.
And phone number 617-676-4082.
You guys are ready for TV commercials.
We practiced for you.
Wonderful. Well, Randal Engelmann and Erik Gould of Focus Real Estate, thanks so much for joining us today on the Rubin Special. Really enjoyed our conversation and you taking the time out of your schedule.
Oh,
thanks, Josh.
pleasure.
Yeah. Kids.
And congratulations on the new edition.
Yeah.